The stars above the Valari homeworld burned red with fire. Once beautiful cities of glass and silver towers were now broken. Smoke curled into the skies. The people of Valara, a peaceful race of artists, healers, and dreamers, trembled as the warlord species known as the Drakthar pressed their invasion. The Valari were not a warrior people. For centuries they had built their lives on harmony and balance. They created music that carried across the winds of their world. They grew forests that glowed at night with soft blue light. They painted skies with festivals of light wings, sending colors higher than mountains. But none of those things could stop fire from the Drakthar warships. The Drakthar were cruel and merciless. They had iron hides, war-born claws, and ships bristling with weapons. They conquered for sport, enslaved for profit, and crushed any culture too weak to resist. When they looked at Valara, they saw easy prey. The Valari defense fleets, small and fragile, tried to resist. They stood bravely, but their ships shattered like glass before steel. One by one, their proud captains fell silent. The survivors sent their final words back to the planet. "We cannot hold. Forgive us." On the surface, families gathered in bunkers, whispering prayers. Leaders of the Valari Council argued in fear. Some said they must surrender to survive. Others cried that surrender meant slavery. None had answers. At last, one council member, an old scholar named Yelani, spoke with trembling words. "Long ago, our ancestors spoke of signals, the galaxy's emergency beacon. If despair becomes too great, send the cry. Somewhere, someone may hear." The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew what she spoke of. The SOS code, an ancient system created in the early days of interstellar travel. Few still used it. Few still believed in it. Yet it was the only chance left. The Valari Council agreed. Their technicians gathered at the signal towers. Fingers hovered above controls, hearts heavy with fear. They coded their desperate plea. "To anyone who hears this, we are Valari. We are under attack by the Drakthar. Our people are dying. Please, help us. We cannot stand alone." The signal burst into the void, a cry carried across light years. But the Valari did not know where it would go. They imagined gentle allies, healers from distant stars, or noble fleets that lived for peace. They imagined food for the starving, medicine for the wounded, and kind words for the broken. What they did not imagine, what they could not imagine, was that their cry would land on Earth. Far away, on the blue and green world of humanity. Deep, within a secure orbital station, the Interstellar Monitoring Network picked up the transmission. At first, the operators thought it was static, but as they adjusted, the message grew clear. A young technician named Mira leaned closer to the console. Her eyes widened as she heard the desperate Valari words. "Commander," she whispered, "we've caught a distress beacon." Her superior, Commander Harlan, strode over. His jaw tightened as he listened. The plea was raw, trembling, and full of despair. When the message ended, silence hung heavy in the room. The technicians turned to their commander. His face was carved with years of service. He finally spoke. "Send it to High Command. Now." Within hours, the message reached Earth's leaders. The World Council gathered in their great chamber, a circle of seats overlooking a map of stars. Generals, admirals, and diplomats filled the air with tension. Some argued for caution. "We do not know these Valari. Why risk our fleets for strangers?" Others shook their heads. "Strangers or not, they are under attack. If they fall, the Drakthar will only grow stronger. Who will they target next?" An admiral with steel-gray hair stood. His voice carried over the chamber. "Generals, council members, let us remember who we are. We are humanity. We come from Earth, a world that taught us struggle every single day. Storms, predators, hunger. We survived it all. When someone cries out for help, we do not ignore it. We answer." The chamber fell into murmurs. Slowly, heads began to nod. Humanity had not forgotten its past. On Earth, even the weakest tribes once banded together to face danger. It was their nature. But humanity also knew something else. Their answer was never small. They would not send only doctors, they would not send only food. They would not send a single token ship to wave a flag. No. When humanity answered a cry for help, they answered with everything they had. The council voted. The decision was made. Earth would send its fleets. Across the planet, shipyards thundered with life. Colossal engines flared as warships prepared for launch. The Iron Resolve, flagship of the human navy, lit up its reactors. Crew rushed to stations. Soldiers loaded gear. Pilots slid into cockpits with calm determination. Young recruits trembled with both fear and pride. Veterans told them, "Steady your hands. We are going to war not for conquest but for justice." All across human space, whispers spread. The Velari have called for help. Humanity has answered. Other alien observers watched in shock. Some species had long monitored Earth from afar. They expected humans to send aid ships, maybe a token fleet at most. But what they saw instead left them shaken. Humanity was mobilizing an armada. Thousands of ships bristling with weapons. Fleets not for parades but for survival. Fleets trained in the harshest of battles. Fleets born from a world that demanded strength at every turn. Word spread quickly. Across star systems, merchants whispered to each other, "The DEATHWORLDers are moving." The Drakthar, hearing these rumors, only laughed. To them, humans were just another fragile species. "Let them come," the Drakthar warlord growled. "We will break them as we broke the Velari." But the Drakthar did not understand humanity. On Valara, the people still huddled in fear. Their skies burned with fire from enemy ships. Every hour, more cities fell. Their defenses cracked. Yelani, the old scholar, sat with children in a shelter, whispering old stories to calm them. She prayed silently that someone, anyone, would come. Then one night, as the stars shimmered through cracks in the smoke, a strange sight appeared in the sky. The children pointed with wide eyes. "Look, lights!" The Velari adults rushed outside. Above them, new stars were moving. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. The first human fleet had arrived. Velari leaders stared at the scanners. At first, they thought it must be a dream. These ships were not like their own fragile craft. They were vast, dark, sharp like blades, burning with power. They had expected healers. They had expected diplomats. Instead, they saw an army. The Velari began to whisper in fear. "Who are these humans? Will they save us? Or destroy us as well?" But as they looked closer, they saw the human fleet positioning itself between Valara and the Drakthar invaders. The ships opened fire not on Valara but on the enemy. The sky lit up. Human wrath had arrived, and the galaxy was about to learn what it meant to send an SOS to Earth. The first message from Earth had been short, but it carried a weight that made every Velari heart tremble. "We have received your call. Hold on. Humanity is coming." No one on Valara knew what that truly meant. Their people imagined a few ships with supplies, perhaps a handful of soldiers to defend them until peace could be restored. None of them could imagine what was really moving through the void toward their world. The awakening of Earth's shipyards, across Earth and its colonies. The sky roared with fire as warship after warship came alive. Massive shipyards, dormant for years in times of uneasy peace, now blazed with furious activity. Engineers tightened bolts, crews loaded ammunition, welders sealed the last armor plates. Entire orbital rings echoed with the thunder of readiness. Ships with names carved from humanity's history rolled out of the docks. Iron Resolve Defiant Star Shield of Terra. Unbroken Dawn. Each vessel bore the scars of past battles. Humanity had not forgotten its wars, neither on Earth nor in the black void of space. The admirals watched the fleets assemble with grim satisfaction. On Earth's central command station, Admiral Varric, tall with silver hair and sharp eyes, stood before a wall of screens. Every ship that appeared on the displays filled him with both pride and sorrow. "War again," he murmured. "We swore to keep peace, yet peace always hides behind strength." Beside him, Captain Mira, the same young technician who had first Heard the Valari distress call. Now wore her officer's uniform. She nodded firmly. They cried out, "Admiral," and we answered, "That is who we are." Varric placed a hand behind his back and spoke with iron resolve. "Then we go not as conquerors. We go as a shield. But the shield of humanity is no soft thing. When we raise it, none shall pass." Rumors across the stars far beyond Earth. Alien merchants and travelers felt the tremor of movement ripple through the galaxy. In markets on neutral worlds, traders whispered in disbelief. The humans, they are mobilizing fleets. Entire fleets. Impossible. They would not send so much for strangers. You do not understand humans. If you strike one, the whole tribe comes. If one cries out, they all rise. The rumors grew wild. Some said humanity had built war machines larger than cities. Others claimed their ships carried weapons that could split moons. Whether truth or myth, one fact echoed everywhere. The DEATHWORLDers are on the move. Even the Drakthar began to notice. The Drakthar's laughter, in the great black fortress ship of the Drakthar, war leader Korvac leaned back on his throne of steel bones. His claws drummed against the armrest as reports came in. Warlord, one of his captains rasped. Scouts speak of human fleets rising. They come for us. Korvac's sharp teeth gleamed in a cruel grin. Humans, soft creatures of a blue world, they cannot stand against Drakthar might. Let them come. Their screams will add music to our victory. The chamber echoed with Drakthar laughter. To them, humanity was only another prey species, fragile, emotional, weak. They did not yet know the mistake they had made. The Valari wait on Valara. The Valari people struggled each day to hold their crumbling world together. Food grew scarce as farms burned. Families huddled in ruins, listening for the roar of enemy engines overhead. But in their darkest hours, whispers spread. The humans were coming. Some Valari clung to hope. Perhaps they will save us. Others feared. Perhaps they will enslave us as well. We do not know them. Council member Yelani, the old scholar, spoke to her people in the Great Hall. Her voice shook, but her eyes shone with faith. We called for help. Someone answered. That alone is a miracle. We must believe. Yet deep in their hearts, many still wondered. What kind of help would these humans bring? Humanity marches the Wayu. First fleets departed Earth orbit like rivers of steel pouring into the black. Engines burned blue and white, casting light across the void. Soldiers stood in formation on decks as speeches echoed through comms. Admiral Varric's words carried, to every vessel. Humanity does not strike first, but when others bring war to the innocent, we do not hesitate. The Valari called us. Their voice reached us across the stars. We will be their wall. We will be their storm. Let the galaxy remember, when humanity moves, it moves as one. The soldiers cheered. The sound carried through the fleet like thunder. Aboard the Iron Resolve on the bridge of the flagship Iron Resolve, Captain Mira took her place at the console. She gazed out at the endless formation of ships moving together, each one a promise of strength. She remembered the voice of the Valari message, the trembling plea of a people who had no more defenses left. That voice haunted her, but it also gave her purpose. She whispered quietly to herself, Hold on, just hold on, we're coming. Beside her, Admiral Varric studied the star charts. He knew this was not just a rescue mission. This was a declaration. Humanity was stepping onto the galactic stage in a way no one would ever forget. First contact in the Shadow Scouts from the human fleet reached the edges of Valari space. There, in the cold silence of distant stars, they saw it. The devastation of the Drakthar advance. Whole planets burned. Stations floated as wreckage. The Drakthar had left nothing but ash in their wake. The scout commander clenched his fists. They'll pay for this. The reports were sent back to Admiral Varric. His jaw tightened, but his voice was calm when he replied, Mark every fallen world. When we are finished, the Valari will know they were not forgotten. The Drakthar will know they were not forgiven. The galaxy holds its breath. Alien governments across the stars received whispers of human fleets nearing Valari space. Many trembled, for they had long feared the rise of humanity. Some rulers sent envoys urging restraint. Do not bring such fury, humans. If you fight like this, the whole galaxy may burn. But humanity answered only with silence. Their ships kept moving. To the Valari, the weight grew unbearable. They watched the skies, wondering when these humans would arrive. Each day the Dracthar pressed harder, capturing cities, enslaving survivors, burning fields. Children asked their parents, "Will the humans really come?" And the parents could only whisper, "We hope so." The gathering storm, finally, after weeks of travel through the void, the human fleets drew near. Thousands of ships burned through hyperspace lanes, engines howling like storms. From orbit, Valari observers saw faint ripples in the stars. The sky trembled as something vast approached. "Are they here?" A young Valari officer gasped. On the scanners, countless signatures appeared, sharp, disciplined, and powerful. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. The humans had come not with a token gesture, but with a storm. The Valari Council gathered, watching the skies with wide eyes. Some wept with relief, others trembled with fear. "By the stars," whispered Yelani. "They did not send aid. They sent an army. The Dracthar." Prepare in their war camps, the Dracthar finally realized the truth. Scouts confirmed the massive human fleet closing in. "Warlord Korvac," a captain growled, "the humans do not send only a few ships. They send everything." For the first time, Korvac's grin faltered. He rose from his throne, eyes blazing. "Then let them come," he snarled. "We will show them the cost of defiance. Ready the fleets, every ship, every warrior. We will meet them head on." But deep in his chest, even the mighty warlord felt a spark of unease. The edge of battle on Valara, night fell. Fires still burned across the horizon, but in the skies above, new stars appeared. The human fleet had arrived. From the surface, the Valari saw shadows move across the heavens, vast silhouettes of ships, black and silver, blocking out the stars themselves. The Valari people held their breath. The air was heavy with fear, hope, and awe. Would these humans truly save them? Or had they called down another storm they could not control? In the silence before battle, Admiral Varric's voice echoed across the human fleet. "Prepare weapons. The Dracthar will see what it means when humanity moves." The fleet adjusted positions, thousands of ships forming into a wall of steel and fire. And so, the galaxy stood still, waiting for the wrath of Earth to ignite. The skies of Valara were no longer quiet. Where once the stars twinkled softly, now thousands of human warships blazed like burning suns. They stretched across the heavens in a wall of steel, engines glowing, weapons locked. The Valari people stared upward with wide eyes. Many whispered in awe, many trembled in fear. They had sent out a desperate cry for help, hoping for healers and medicine. Instead, an armada had come, an armada that carried the fury of Earth. The first Strike Admiral Varric stood tall on the bridge of the Iron Resolve. His eyes were fixed on the holographic map, where enemy fleets glowed red. The Dracthar had not been idle. Their ships gathered in brutal formations, armored like predators, bristling with weapons. They waited at the edge of Valara's system, daring the humans to approach. Varric's voice carried across the bridge. "Signal the fleet. Engage Battle Plan Alpha 1, no hesitation, no mercy, strike hard, strike fast." Captain Mira relayed the command. Across the human armada, officers shouted orders. Crews rushed to weapons. Cannons came alive. Fighters launched from bays like swarms of steel birds. The Valari on the ground watched in silence as the black sky suddenly lit with fire. Humanity had begun its assault. The clash of fleets, the first human salvos tore into the Dracthar ships. Massive beams of energy lanced across the void, punching through armor. Explosions flared as enemy vessels cracked apart, scattering debris. The Dracthar retaliated, hurling barrages of plasma and missiles. The void between stars became a storm of death. But the humans moved with ruthless precision. Their formations shifted like blades, cutting through the chaos. Every time the Dracthar tried to break the line, the humans closed ranks. Every time an enemy squadron surged forward, human gunners cut them down. On Valara's surface, the people could only watch the heavens burn. To them, it was like two gods clashing in the skies. The thunder of weapons echoed faintly, shaking the very air. A Valari child clung to her mother's arm. "Are they saving us?" she asked softly. Her mother did not know how to answer. She could only whisper, "I hope so." Human doctrine on the Iron Resolve. Admiral Varric's voice was calm but firm. "Remember our law of war. We strike not for conquest. We strike to end threats. No Dracthar ship leaves this system alive." Human fleets were built for survival. On Earth, life had always been a struggle. Storms, predators, and disasters had forced humans to adapt with harsh lessons. In space, those lessons became doctrine. Hit fast, hit hard. Do not stop until the enemy is broken. That doctrine now unfolded against the Dracthar. Human ships did not hesitate, did not retreat. Every vessel was part of a greater whole, a moving wall of fire. One Dracthar commander screamed across open channels, "They fight like they are already dead. They do not fear us." His words ended in static as his ship exploded under a human barrage. The Valari's fear in the Valari council chambers. Leaders watched the battle unfold on their screens. Their faces were pale with fear. "These humans, they are destroying everything," one counselor whispered. "They are saving us," argued Yelani, the old scholar. Her eyes were wet with tears as she watched Dracthar ships fall in flames. This is what salvation looks like when the enemy shows no mercy. But even Yelani could not calm the unease in the room. The Valari had asked for aid, not war. Yet, here war had come, roaring and unstoppable. Human soldiers on the ground. While the fleets clashed in orbit, human dropships pierced the atmosphere. Sleek transports screamed through the skies, carrying soldiers in armor. On the ground, Valari civilians gasped as the ships descended like falling stars. Hatches opened and squads of human soldiers stormed out. Weapons raised, movements sharp. The Valari shrank back in fear, but the humans did not harm them. Instead, they moved swiftly, setting up defenses, pushing back Dracthar raiders who had occupied villages. One Valari family cowered in a ruined home as Dracthar warriors closed in. Suddenly, human soldiers appeared, unleashing precise fire. The Dracthar fell. A soldier turned to the family, lowered his weapon, and simply said, "You're safe now." The Valari stared in shock. The humans' eyes were hard, their armor terrifying, but their actions spoke of protection, not conquest. The turning tide back in orbit, the Dracthar fleet began to falter. Their commanders had expected soft prey, not a relentless storm. The humans pressed forward without pause, tearing open enemy formations. Admiral Varric gave the order. "Advance. Do not let them regroup. Break them." The human fleet surged like a wave. Warships rammed through enemy lines, cannons blazing. Fighters darted through gaps, cutting down stragglers. One Dracthar flagship tried to retreat. Varric's eyes narrowed. "Target that vessel. End it." A dozen human ships turned their guns. Beams of fire crossed the void. The flagship erupted in a chain of explosions, scattering wreckage across space. Cheers erupted across the human comms. The Dracthar, once so proud, were in disarray. The Valari realization on Valara. Council members stared at the unfolding battle. Slowly they understood. "They are not only defending us," whispered one leader. "They are destroying the Dracthar completely." Yelani nodded. "Yes, to humans, mercy is for the weak. Against those who show no mercy, they answer with none." The Valari realized then what it meant to call Earth for help. They had not summoned healers. They had summoned wrath. The Dracthar's desperation, Warlord Korvac's face twisted in fury aboard his command ship. He slammed a clawed fist onto the console, snarling at his subordinates. "Fight harder. Do not shame the Drakthar name. But his warriors faltered. Every strategy crumbled against the human assault. Every counterattack was shattered. One captain dared to speak. Warlord, we cannot win. Korvac's roar silenced him. Then we die fighting. The Drakthar ships charged recklessly, throwing everything they had at the humans. But humanity did not break. Their fleets absorbed the storm, then struck back twice as hard. Humanity's message as the Drakthar lines shattered, Admiral Varric opened a transmission, not just to his fleet, but to every ship and planet in range. His voice carried like a hammer. To the Valari, know this, you are not alone. To the Drakthar, know this, your cruelty ends here. You brought war to the innocent. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive. The Valari wept as they heard his words. The Drakthar snarled in rage, but deep down, fear crept into their hearts. The final blow. The last hours of the battle were chaos. Drakthar ships fled, in every direction but the humans pursued. Not one escaped. On the Iron Resolve, Admiral Varric gave his final order. End it. The human fleet unleashed its full fury. Missiles streaked like meteors. Cannons roared like thunder. One by one, the Drakthar vessels disintegrated into fire and dust. When silence finally fell, the void was filled only with wreckage. The Drakthar fleet was no more. After the battle on Valara's surface, the people emerged from shelters. They looked up at the sky where human ships still hovered, black silhouettes against the stars. The war above had ended. The Drakthar were broken. But the Valari still trembled. Humanity had saved them, but the sheer fury of that salvation left them shaken. A Valari child asked Yelani, "Will the humans leave now?" Yelani looked at the sky and whispered, "Perhaps, but the galaxy will never forget what we saw tonight." The galaxy reacts across distant worlds. News spread like wildfire. Traders, soldiers, and leaders all whispered the same words. The Drakthar fleet is gone. The humans destroyed them. Some aliens cheered, grateful that the terror of the Drakthar was ended. Others grew fearful, realizing what humanity was capable of. For the first time, the galaxy truly understood. When humans answered an SOS, they answered not with gentle aid, but with fire, steel, and wrath. The battle above Valara was over. The Drakthar fleet lay in ruins, their burning wreckage drifting through the void. Humanity had come, and in one storm of fire, they had broken the invaders. The Valari stood in their ruined cities and stared up at the sky. They whispered in awe, in fear, in wonder. The humans had saved them, yes, but the way they fought, their speed, their fury, their refusal to stop until every enemy ship was destroyed, left the Valari shaken. For the first time, they began to understand what their SOS had truly awakened. Humanity does not stop on the bridge of the Iron Resolve. Admiral Varric studied the holomap. Red markers still glowed across it. Not here in Valara's skies, the Drakthar were already gone, but in nearby systems, where more enemy strongholds waited. He spoke calmly, but every word carried iron. The Drakthar will not stop. If we leave them wounded, they will return. To protect the Valari, to protect every innocent, we cannot wait for their next attack. We must carry the war to them. Captain Mira hesitated. She thought of the Valari's frightened faces, their whispered hopes. Admiral, the Valari expected aid. Not this. Will they understand? Varric turned his hard eyes to her. Understanding is not required. Survival is. If the Drakthar live, the Valari will die. Humanity knows this truth well. We learned it on our own world long before we reached the stars. Mercy for predators means death for the prey. His voice echoed across the fleet. The orders were clear. Humanity would not stop at Valara. They would strike the Drakthar everywhere. The Valari Council in the Valari capital, the surviving council members met in their broken chamber. Cracks ran through the walls, dust falling from the ceiling. Their voices trembled. They destroyed the invaders above our skies. We are alive because of them. Yes, another whispered. But what if they turn on us? Did you see how they fought? Ruthless, unstoppable. If that power turned against us, Yelani, the old scholar, raised her voice. Do not fear them. Fear the Drakthar who brought this war. The humans did not come for conquest. They came because we cried out. And they will not stop until the Drakthar can never hurt us again. Her words gave some comfort, but unease still lingered. The Valari had asked for a shield and received a storm. The Drakthar retreat far from Valara. The news of defeat spread through Drakthar space. Fleets recalled, warlords raged, and entire strongholds fell into panic. Never in their history had they faced such an enemy. They were predators, conquerors, destroyers, but against humanity their claws had broken. In his war chamber, Warlord Korvac's roar shook the walls. They dare pursue us? They dare strike into Drakthar space? His captains lowered their eyes, ashamed. Warlord, the humans do not fight as others do. They do not claim victory and stop. They do not bargain. They destroy. Korvac's claws clenched. For the first time, a shadow of doubt touched him. The march of the fleet humanity's armada spread out like a rising storm. From Valara's orbit, squadrons jumped into hyperspace, vanishing one after another, each heading for Drakthar outposts and colonies. World by world they struck. At the mining colony of Rathos, human warships arrived without warning. The Drakthar garrison scrambled to fight, but in minutes their defenses were shattered. Human soldiers stormed the mines, freeing Valari slaves who had been forced to dig under whip and chain. At the fortress moon of Drokal, human artillery rained fire from orbit. The stronghold, thought to be unbreakable, cracked under bombardment. When it fell, the surviving Drakthar begged for mercy. None was given. At the trade station of Kralis, alien merchants watched in shock as human fleets crushed every Drakthar vessel in port. The humans did not stay to occupy, did not seize goods. They simply destroyed the enemy and moved on. Everywhere the Drakthar turned, the humans were already there. Fast, relentless, merciless. The Valari's mixed feelings. On Valara, survivors, rebuilt slowly. Human aid finally arrived, supplies, medicine, and engineers. Yet when the Valari saw human soldiers and their weapons, they felt both relief and unease. One Valari farmer spoke to his neighbor as they received food from a human. Transport, they saved us. They feed us. Yet when I look into their eyes, I see storms. Do they ever rest? His neighbor whispered back. Perhaps they cannot. Perhaps that is why they are strong. Yelani, watching human engineers repair a broken water system, sighed. Softly. They are not like us. We dream of peace, they prepare for war. Yet perhaps the galaxy needs both. Humanity's words. After each victory, Admiral Varric broadcast a simple message across the stars. His voice reached every listening ear. Drakthar, Valari, and others beyond. We do not seek conquest. We seek justice. The Drakthar preyed upon the weak. Now their time is ended. If any doubt us, let this be clear. When humanity answers a cry for help, we do not come with half measures. We come to end the threat. These words shook the galaxy. Some species cheered, believing at last that someone had the strength to stand against the Drakthar. Others shivered, realizing what would happen if humanity ever turned its wrath upon them. The Drakthar's last stand. The Drakthar fleets fell back to their heart worlds. Warlord Korvac gathered every remaining ship, every soldier, every weapon. His pride would not allow retreat. They think us broken, he snarled to his warriors. They think us weak. We will show them the fury of Drakthar blood. His warriors roared in reply, yet their eyes betrayed fear. They had seen what humans did. They had seen fleets erased in hours. Still, bound by pride and rage, they prepared for the final stand. Humanity's relentless advance, the human armada pressed onward. Their ships cut through defenses like knives through cloth. Their soldiers freed prisoners from camps, destroyed Drakthar fortresses, and burned enemy banners. But wherever they went, one truth remained: they did not stay. They did not rule. They did not enslave. They destroyed and moved on. To some, this was terrifying. To others, it was proof that humans were not conquerors. They were avengers. Conversations on the Iron Resolve one night, as the fleet rested between battles, Captain Mira stood at the observation deck gazing at the stars. Yelani, the Valari scholar, had been invited aboard to speak with the admirals. Mira and Yelani found themselves alone, staring into the void. "You are afraid of us," Mira said softly. Yelani folded her hands. "Not afraid. Awed. You fight, with such fire. It saves us, yet it frightens us. We do not understand how you can burn so bright without turning to ash." Mira looked down at the stars, her voice quiet. "We are from Earth, a death world. Every day was a battle even before we reached the stars. To survive, we learned never to stop, never to yield. That is who we are. That is why when we answer a call, we cannot give half of ourselves. We give all, or nothing." Yelani nodded slowly. "Perhaps that is why the galaxy needs you." The galaxy watches as humanity pressed deeper into Drakthar territory. The galaxy held its breath. Some species sent messages of support offering supplies and scouts. Others sent warnings begging humanity to stop before the war consumed everything. But humanity did not stop. Their fleets moved like rivers of steel, unstoppable. Their enemies fell like broken twigs before a storm, and everywhere whispers spread. "Do not call upon Earth unless you are ready. When they come, they do not leave the world the same." The noose tightens at last. The human armada reached the edge of the Drakthar home system. The final battle loomed. On his flagship, Warlord Korvac growled to his warriors, "This is our last fight. If we fall, our name ends. Better to die with claws bared than live in shame." His warriors roared, though fear shook their voices. Across the void, Admiral Varric gave his own command. "This ends here. No more raids, no more broken worlds. Humanity will show the galaxy that when predators rise, they are not unstoppable. They fall." The calm. Before the storm on Velara, the people looked up at the stars and wondered what was happening far away. Children asked, "Are the humans winning?" Their elders answered, "The humans do not know how to lose." But in their hearts, the Valari also knew. When the battle ended, the galaxy itself would be different, for no one could watch what humanity was doing and remain unchanged. And so, as two great forces prepared to clash in the Drakthar home system, the galaxy held its breath. The Valari had sent an SOS for mercy. Humanity had answered with wrath, and there would be no mercy. The Drakthar heart system burned. Worlds that had once been hubs of war and cruelty were now shattered. Cities lay in ruins, fleets reduced to drifting metal skeletons, and armies scattered into hiding. Above the burning planets, the human armada hovered. Ships of all sizes filled the skies like a storm that could not be contained. The fleet did not celebrate. Humanity did not rejoice. Their mission was clear: protect the innocent, destroy the predator, and then leave the galaxy safer than before. The Valari, watching from their homeworld, trembled in awe. Their SOS had brought not just aid, but a force unlike anything they had ever imagined. The humans had fought with a single-minded fury that left even the strongest alien species speechless. Victory, at the heart, Admiral Varric stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, eyes scanning the remaining Drakthar installations. Even the last fortified outpost had fallen. Warlord Korvac's fleet was gone. His homeworld had been neutralized, its weapons dismantled or destroyed. "Status report," Varric commanded. "All systems clear, Admiral," reported Captain Mira. "The Drakthar resistance is scattered. No fleets remain to oppose us." Varric nodded. "Prepare to withdraw. Leave no unnecessary destruction, but make it clear: the Predator cannot return." Fighters launched in final sweeps, ensuring that all enemy vessels and remaining weapons caches were neutralized. Humanity's method was precise. Every action was intentional. Nothing was wasted. The Valari gratitude back on Velara. The survivors emerged from shelters and ruins. Families hugged each other, their tears mingling with smoke and dust. The sky was still filled with human warships, but the people were no longer afraid. Council member Yelani addressed the crowd. Her voice was steady, yet carried the weight of relief. "They saved us," she said. "Not just our lives, but our people, our children, our future. They came not for glory, but for justice. Remember this day, for the galaxy will remember it too." The Valari could not help but notice the humans' discipline. Despite victory, there were no celebrations, no looting, no conquest. Soldiers distributed food and medicine, helped rebuild shelters, and reassured the terrified civilians. Humanity's strength was coupled with purpose and restraint. A child asked, "Why do they fight so hard?" Yelani replied, "Because they do not forget the suffering of others. They will not allow the weak to fall. That is the way of Earth." Warlord Korvac's last stand. Far from Valara, Warlord Korvac and the remnants of his forces had fled to a distant asteroid belt. They hid among shattered moons, nursing prideful wounds and anger. Korvac's warriors looked to him for guidance, but even their leader's confidence had shaken. The humans had shown them power beyond anything the Drakthar had faced before. Korvac's voice was harsh, yet tinged with fear. "We may survive, but we are broken. The humans, they are not like any enemy we have ever known." One captain dared to speak. "Warlord, should we attempt to regroup?" Korvac's eyes burned. "We can try, but they will find us. And when they do, the wrath of humanity will not stop until we are gone. We underestimated them. That will be our end." Even among the Drakthar, fear had taken root. The stories of the human armada would follow them forever. Humanity's discipline, while the galaxy whispered of fear and awe, the human fleet began its careful withdrawal. The Valari needed space to rebuild, and the humans did not linger unnecessarily. Ships carried medical supplies, engineers, and food to repair the most devastated areas. Admiral Varric addressed his fleet one final time. "Mission complete. The innocent are safe. The predator is broken. Remember this. When we act, we do so with precision and strength. Let the galaxy learn from this day." The Valari called, and we answered. But if any threaten the helpless, they will know our wrath. Across the fleet, sailors, soldiers, and officers felt a quiet pride. Humanity had fought not for conquest, not for plunder, but for justice. That was the mark of their power. The Valari rebuild. The weeks that followed were quiet, yet filled with tireless work. Valari engineers and human specialists worked side by side, clearing rubble, rebuilding homes, and restoring water and food systems. Children returned to schools. Farmers returned to fields. The city lights, dimmed for weeks under the threat of fire, slowly glimmered once more, yet in every heart lingered the memory of human fire. The Valari knew they had been saved not by gentle hands, but by unyielding force. They would never forget the speed, the precision, and the complete determination of the humans who answered their call. Yelani wrote in her journal, "The humans are both shield and storm. We called for aid, and we received a force the galaxy has never seen. The Drakthar learned fear. We learned the strength of hope backed by courage. Humanity is a new star in the sky of the galaxy." The message to the galaxy humanity broadcast a final message before leaving Valari space. Admiral Varric's voice carried across star systems, clear and unyielding. "To the Valari, you are safe. We have answered your call. To all species, the Drakthar preyed upon the weak. Their cruelty is ended. Let this be a warning. Those who harm the innocent will find humanity at their door. We do not conquer. We do not occupy. We do not seek glory. We act so that the helpless may live, and the predator may be stopped. Remember this day. Remember humanity." The message spread faster than any fleet could move. Across the stars, whispers of awe, fear, and respect traveled. Some species cheered. Some trembled. All took notice. Reflections among humanity as the fleets traveled home. The crew of the Iron Resolve stood in quiet reflection. The battle had been hard, and many had lost friends and comrades. But there was also pride. They had done what humanity always did: protect the weak, punish the predator, and leave the galaxy safer. Captain Mira looked at Admiral Varric. "Do you think the Valari understand what we are?" Varric shook his head slowly. "Some may not. They will never forget. That is enough. We do not fight for praise, we fight for survival and for justice." Mira nodded, watching the stars. "They called for help and we answered, but not the way they expected." Varric smiled faintly. "No, they will never expect us to move like this, and that is why the galaxy will remember Earth forever." The aftermath of Wrath. By the time the human fleets returned to Earth, the galaxy was already talking. The Drakthar species had been broken. Reports spread of entire fleets destroyed, strongholds neutralized, and enslaved aliens freed. The Valari sent messages of gratitude, praising humanity's strength and discipline, yet even they whispered in quiet tones about the humans' power, about the storm that had descended to save them. Other species debated, should they ally with humanity, fear them, or both? One thing was clear. When Earth answered a call for help, it did not come with small fleets or token gestures. It came with overwhelming force and perfect precision. The galaxy had learned a lesson, a galaxy changed. The Valari rebuilt, forever grateful, but forever aware of the storm that had protected them. Warlords and tyrants across the stars now thought twice before raising their claws or firing their weapons at the innocent. Humanity had become a symbol, not of conquest, not of empire, but of justice and wrath combined. In council halls across alien worlds, whispers spread. Do not cry out lightly. If Earth hears, they do not come to heal, they come to punish, and they do not stop. Even the Drakthar, scattered and humiliated, carried the story of the humans' fury for generations. Every warrior knew that if Earth's call reached their enemies, the end would be swift and total. The Valari lesson. For the Valari, the greatest lesson was simple. When mercy fails, the universe sometimes answers in fire. Children grew up telling stories of the humans who had come like a storm, who had destroyed the cruel, and who had left the innocent alive. Yelani wrote, "We asked for help and we received a force the galaxy had never seen. Humanity is both shield and sword. If we are ever in danger again, we know the stars themselves may answer our cry, and they will not rest until justice is done." The Valari would never forget the humans' wrath, but they would also never forget the lives saved, the chains broken, and the future restored. The final departure. Finally, the human fleets began their slow journey home. The war had been fought, the predators broken, and the innocent protected. Admiral Varric looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of victory, responsibility, and pride. "Return home," he said to the fleet. "The galaxy is safer. The Valari live. And the lesson is written in the stars. When humanity answers, no evil stands unbroken." The fleets disappeared into hyperspace, leaving Valara and its people in peace. The sky was still scarred by the fires of war, but hope burned brighter than ever, and somewhere, across the galaxy, whispers of Earth's wrath would continue to echo, warning all who dared to prey upon the weak.